Last Friday in episode 1, I was honored to receive on our talk show 2 amazing panelists that are based in the United States. Dr. Theodosia Edwards, a school principal, and Huguette Essoh, an author of children's book that is called Bullying, Recognize, Refuse, Report. This evening, we are delighted to present the second episode of our talk show entitled Prevention and Intervention Measures to Safely Stand Up to Bullying. At the live production, Ismail Maiga, and on the mic, Pastor Mercy Yenebu-Boire, CEO and Executive Director of Leadership Excellence for Women by Women, a Dallas-based women empowerment 501c3 nonprofit organization. Precious women of valor, precious men of valor, good afternoon and welcome to Leadership Excellence for Women by Women.
And this insulin resistance is because
93% of juvenile victims of sexual abuse is by people they know.
Because you are illegal, you can even benefit from it because you're being a victim.
People paid for that.
the roadmap that you had to follow.
Pouvoir payer donc le crédit bancaire qu'ils vont te faire.
Non, on pensait que c'était une Américaine qui allait venir. Donc nous, on était déjà braqués.
Precious women of valor, precious men of valor, good evening and welcome to the talk show of Leadership Excellence for Women by Women. Again, I am delighted to have our guest of last Friday, Dr. Theodosia Edwards and Huguette Latte. Can we have them on the screen, please? Hello, beautiful ladies. How are you?
Hello, happy to be here again.
Pleasure to have to continue our discussion with you. To bring awareness on bullying, last Friday during our episode 1, we discussed the different types of bullying as well as where and when bullying happens. Lastly, we touched and analyzed the health consequences for bullying on all parties involved. Today, I would like us to discuss on prevention and intervention measures to safely stand up to bullying. We will go over some misdirection in bullying prevention and intervention as well. To prevent bullying, there are things kids can do, parents can do, what school can also do, and what is the federal law covering on that matter. Let's start with you, Huguette. What to do if you are a kid and you are being bullied? Let's have it on the screen.
Okay, thanks for the question. I think it's very important indeed that as a kid being bullied, you kind of know what to do at first. I think the first thing you can do or try to do is ask the person, right, to stop, right? But you want to make sure you're clear in the way you're saying that to them, ask them, look them in the eye and tell them that they need to stop. Of course, you will have kids who are not comfortable doing that, right? If you're not comfortable doing that, if you're able to just walk away from the situation, do that, and then go talk to a grown-up, somebody who can handle it right away, and make sure you talk about it. Most importantly, don't keep that to yourself. Speak about it, talk to someone about it, because somebody needs to get involved to make sure that this stops right away and doesn't turn into something that can lead to very damaging consequences.
Absolutely. And again, before going to the next question to Dr. Edward, this is where I think last week, I can't remember if it was you or Dr. Edward that mentioned that. The fact that especially we from Africa and then the Latin American community, when our child come back from school, telling us that somebody was bullying them, the first reaction based on our culture is to send our kids back to go and fight.
Yeah.
And this is what I really like, the initiative that you took to publish this book, Huguette. Instead of teaching them to physically fight, we can teach the children emotional intelligence to be able to fight back with the world, which has more impact, in fact.
Yeah, absolutely.
We need to also get them out of trouble.
Yeah.
Because guess what happened? If you are being bullied, go back and fight, especially in the United States, guess what's going to happen? You might find yourself in Dr. Edward's office.
Absolutely.
Your parent getting called. Now, instead of you having to be being the victim,
Yeah.
you become now the one that have bullied.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is very critical. And I really hope that parents will take advantage of buying this book from Huguette, that is currently in French and English. And hopefully Huguette, you may think to do it in Spanish because like I said, last week, the statistic was really showing it.
Yeah.
The main issue is in the Black community and Latin American community, where we don't have that culture of really taking time to teach emotional intelligence.
Yeah. Yeah.
Critical.
And I was saying that as a kid, right? Even if you feel scared, right away inside of you, speaking up can make the bully feel like, oh, I gotta be careful. Because you just try, if you can, telling the kid to stop, even if you're afraid, try speaking up. That's the first step. That if you absolutely cannot do that, or if you try that it doesn't work, talk to someone. And I like the fact that you mentioned, we talked about culture last week and how in certain culture they will just send you back there. You can talk to your parents, but before you even do that, while in school, talk to someone. You can talk to the principal, you can talk to a teacher, but talk to someone who can address it right away.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Huguette. Dr. Edward, we also know that bullying does not always happen in person. Cyberbullying is a type of bullying that happens online or through text or messages. We touched on that last week. What things can a kid do to protect themselves from cyberbullying? Dr. Edward, over to you.
Okay. So this is a conversation that is currently ongoing in my household with a 17-year-old who has very diverse opinions about world events. And we have those conversations about, yes, you can post things, but make sure that you know what you're posting because there are consequences. So we need to have those conversations with our kids about what you post online and give them examples, unfortunately, of people who we see whose lives have been ruined because they made that mistake of posting certain things online, and society doesn't usually forgive so easily. So telling them to keep their passwords a secret from other kids so they don't hack their account, making sure that they know not to spread rumors to other people or just say, oh, this is what I heard. Don't tell anyone, okay? Because you know that next person is going to tell and tell and tell. And then it creates an uncomfortable space for the child who's been bullied. Making sure that you keep your parents in the loop, let them know what's going on online. But also as parents, it's imperative that we know what platforms our children are on, right? And I know it's not as easy because probably my 17-year-old can probably outsmart online, right? But it's important that you, as long as you're the one paying for their phones and laptops, make sure you check it. So I say to my child randomly, bring your phone here, and I'll go through all of the apps or sometimes the laptops. And I'm not a parent who hovers over her child, right? But I make sure that I am on top of what's going on, because once you, especially in these United States, once you create a situation where you put yourself at a disadvantage, especially as a minority, sometimes it's harder to pull yourself out of it. So we as parents, we need to be very proactive and having those conversations with our children. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't cost anything. You don't necessarily have to take them to a restaurant to have a conversation. You can talk to them at your kitchen table to see what's going on, what bothers them. Are they anxious? Are they showing signs of anxiety, of depression? What's going on online? Did someone post about you? Did you post about someone else? So it's important for our children to know those things that they can do to protect themselves and also not being the bullies themselves against other children.
Oh my goodness, Dr. Edward, you just mentioned something that is so taking time to know what your children do online. My
Yeah.
goodness. This is becoming a big problem today in our society. Children basically feeling entitled. Children basically going online because parents, again, don't have time to watch, to control what they are doing. And a few months ago, I had this talk show about teaching your children to love reading. Right before that talk show, while I was preparing it, there was something that was horrible that happened in the news. I'm pretty sure you might have heard about it. This 13 years old boy killing his sister. Over what? Apparently, he has a lot of video game. And he felt like, mind you, that the mom and sisters, the other phone and electronic device were making the internet connection too slow for him to his like. So of course, he went ahead and hid all the cable, or change the password of the internet. So the mom came home, was trying to use the internet. Of course, it wasn't working. She asked him, and he refused to give the password, the new password that he wanted to change. So now the mom got upset. She took his playing device, whatever it was. He got mad, started yelling at the mom, cussing at his mom, and becoming more and more irritated. And the sister, who was only 19, she perceived that he was going to be physical with the mom. So she came to be in between the two of them. Before we knew it, he put his two hands on her neck, start what he was doing. The mom was screaming, stop, stop. She tried her best to make him lose his hand from his sister's neck. She could not. She had to call 911. We are the three of us live in the United States. When I was reading the story, my mind was calculating the number of minutes that all of this might have taken. Because as a mom, she was not prompt, because in this kind of situation, you need to exercise shock on the person for them to release the other person. She didn't do that. As a mom, she felt like she still had the voice for her son to listen to her. So I'm pretty sure the time that she was doing, yelling at him to release the sister, that could have been between 2 to 5 minutes. Then now she had the mindset to call 911. Even though they are prompt to come to your house, that's also a couple of minutes that add up. And I'm telling you, when they came in, it took them few minutes for them to be able to get the boy to release the sister. She didn't make it. Leaving behind a baby. So within 10 to 15 minutes, this mother found herself childless, literally. First child gone, second child, 12, 13 years in jail for life. Over internet. Over a device that a mom bought for him. Over an internet service that the mom is paying for. How do we get there? How can we justify that? How can we cope with that? It is time for us parents to take our position before it's too late. To me, reading that story breaks my heart. But at the same time, I'm like, as a mom, this did not happen by mistake. There were signs before that. Something did not work somewhere before that event. Because a 12-year-old cannot get to that level of violence all of a sudden. I just want to stop there, just to prompt each one of us to really rethink what is most valuable for us. Work, a full bank account with a child in jail, with a daughter gone. Let's revisit our priority. Huguette, as author of a newly published children's book called Bullying, Recognize, Refuse, Report, what can kids do to prevent bullying? May we have it on the screen? Over to you, Huguette.
Yep. All right. Thank you for the question. This is a great question, like the other questions as well. I think kids needs to know, and parents play a role in this, in teaching children that it's important to treat everyone with kindness and respect. So always stop and think before you say or do anything that could hurt someone, right? So we want to make sure that we are doing that. If you feel like being mean to someone, go find yourself something else to do, right? And then always talk to a grown-up. If you find yourself in a situation where you feel like somebody's trying to intimidate you, somebody's trying to bully you, don't keep it to yourself. Don't keep it, right? And understand that everyone is different. And going back to what we talked earlier about immigrant children and sometimes how they are perceived by other kids, I think teaching your children at home to understand that everyone is different will avoid those kind of situations, because the kids who behave like that kind of have an expectation that everyone should maybe look like them, talk like them. And that's not always going to be the case. So understand that people are different. And what I tell my children, of course, I'm an immigrant. They were born here, so they don't have an accent or anything, is the fact that having an accent is an asset. It shows that you speak other languages, right? It's just when you speak all the different languages, of course, you're going to have an accent somewhere there in one of those languages. And I always joke with my son, because when he tries to speak French, he has that English accent. I make fun of him because I'm see your French is so weird. There's some words that he cannot say in French because he speaks English. So I'm like, it's the same thing. So don't ever feel like somebody is different because of the way they look or the way they speak. I think that's important. And if you think you've been you have been a bully, like in the past, or you've treated somebody in a way that wasn't kind, just apologize, own it and apologize. And I think, the one thing that I'm going to add to that, this is for parents too, is, while you're doing this job of teaching your children to not be bullies or how to respond to bullying, make sure you're not a bully yourself, because your kids will watch what you do. Because the way you react when you're angry, like on the road, or when you go to your children's sports event, the way you treat other parents, because I see some things. I'm a soccer mom, and some of the things that I see, I'm like, I don't know how you're raising your kids at home because you're being a bully. So it's important that as parents, yes, we teach our kids to learn to act when they're like being bullied or how to prevent it. But at the same time, let's make sure that we're not bullies ourselves.
Oh my goodness. Huguette, wow. I don't know if Dr. Edward want to add something before the next question, but
I think you said it all.
Yeah.
I think Huguette said it all. Teaching, I think it's easier as adults to talk about being kind, but are we really modeling it in the home? We are. The home is where our children are molded, right? So are we talking bad about that aunt or uncle, right?
Yeah.
And our children are hearing it, right? And then they start the same thing too, talking bad about other people. So I think it's important. So Huguette said it all, modeling those kind behavior, good behaviors, and making sure that our children feel like they can talk to an adult.
Yeah. And earlier on, one of you mentioned something that being different is an asset. To be honest, when I heard it, I was smiling because I remember 22 years ago when I got here, my first job was at the McDonald's. And the manager of the McDonald's, she loved my French, heavy French accent at that time. And she felt like, it would be nice to put me on the drive-through. Hello. The drive-through, and we all know, how drive-through is. You have to be prompt to take the order. So I will have my finger literally like up by the time they finish the order. And I didn't even punch one word. So of course the car will drive now to the window and I'm still standing like this. Sir, would you mind to repeat what you said? They will get mad and cuss at me. But of course I didn't understand what they were saying because I had just moved to the US 2 weeks ago. Today, when I look back, I'm like, wow, that was insane to put me at that window. But then it taught me also something over the year. Initially, I used to be upset when the people would tell me they don't understand what I'm saying. But now, even sometimes, in staff meeting, I like to tease my colleague. Sometimes I'm very, I like to be a little bit goofy at work because I understood that sometimes, I think it was Dr. Edward or Huguette that said, when you have somebody trying to bully you, making a joke can make them look ridiculous at that point. So when I perceive that sometimes like the person is addressing my accent just to make fun of me, I'll be like, well, English is one of the 9 languages that I speak. By the way, I just diffuse whatever the person was trying to do. And I move on. Just like Huguette said, it's not my native language. And I got even to the point like I will tell people, listen, if I make mistake, correct me. Yeah. I'm here to learn. So whatever you are trying to do regarding my accent, trying to bully it, I turn it around. And I think, as immigrants, teaching our children to do something like that also will really help. Because even my own son, I think it was 2 years ago, I was helping him with his homework. And I guess, he was reading. So he told me, speak English, mommy. I'm like, whatever. Before you were born. So I'm like, okay. If you are people outside, this is your own child telling you to speak English.
I think as parents, we all have those stories.
And I do it, to try to bully me, but I guess he didn't pick up my accent.
Yeah.
Or, it's either with me. Yeah, hello. That's it.
Yeah.
So, again, really using humor will really help us a lot. And even empower the child also sometimes to make fun of themselves. I do that a lot. So, Dr. Edward, could you please tell us some of the things that kids being bullied can do to stay safe in the future? Because, of course, first time it may happen, they may not know what to do. But then after let's say they come home and tell us they've been bullied, what can you tell that child to do in the future to stay safe?
So it's important for us to tell children that don't force yourself to go to a place where you don't feel welcome or where you don't feel safe. Okay. And telling our adults as parents, if a child says to you, I don't want to go to school today, rather than force them, I need you out of the house because I don't want the school to call me. Wait a minute and see. Say, well, let's go to school together. Let me take you to school today. But us forcing, we need to teach our children not to be around anywhere where they feel like unsafe, where they go somewhere, you have that anxiety, that depression. That means that is not a safe space for you. Also, I would say I don't necessarily agree with staying near adults and or kids, because that's like a short-term fix. A long-term fix would be making sure that they talk to an adult that they trust, or a child that they trust, because sometimes it's not necessarily the adults who will notice a flag, but the child will tell another child who they trust, and that child will tell a teacher or an adult. So making sure that they have at least that one friend who they can trust, who they can share it with, and definitely going out to an adult. It doesn't matter if it's a school's custodian, the paraeducator, the teacher, the secretary, the principal, whomever that child feels comfortable with. And we tell the adults in our buildings to build relationship with children, regardless of what capacity they serve in. So prayerfully, that child will have at least one trusted adult in the building that they can go to let them know that I don't feel safe around this person, or this person is saying or doing or touching or posting things about me online.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Edward. And of course, also empowering children to stand up for others is very important. Let's hear from Huguette about that. How can kids stand up for others?
I think the first thing for children to stand up for others is like, when you see something, don't just ignore it, walk away, or stay quiet. Talk to someone. You can talk to a parent, you can talk to a teacher, you can talk to someone, and a grown up at school, right? They need to know that something is happening. And be kind to the person being bullied, because when you're bullied, you feel like you're all alone, that nobody cares about you, that it's just you and the whole world. But to have other people stand up for you and care, and show that they care, is very, very helpful in those kind of situations, right? If you see them sitting by themselves at lunch, or on the bus or whatever, try to become their friend, right? That's going to help them, right? Know that, okay, I'm maybe a victim of bully right now, but there are still some people out there who got my back. Some people who love me. Some people want to hang out with me. So just keeping quiet can make everything worse. And then the person being bullied, the kid being bullied, will think that it's okay to keep treating people like that. So definitely, do that. I think in my book, I mentioned this, in one of the stories was, one of the kid was being bullied, and her friend, two friends kind of offered her, because the bullying really happened when she went to the bathroom and all that. But so they offered that one of them was actually going to walk her now to the bathroom from now on, so she's not by herself. But just seeing that other people are there for you can be very helpful. So definitely, speak up, and then and you can hang out with the other kids and make sure that they're not feeling all alone.
Thank you so much, Huguette. I would like us to talk about now some leadership things that we can also empower our children to do. This question is going to be for you, Dr. Edward. How can kids get involved in preventing bullying in their community?
So our kids can do a lot to prevent bullying in the community. The first thing is, don't be an idle bystander. When you see bullying, you call it out. Let that person know that you're not being nice, you're not being respectful, you're not being kind. So that's one way that they can get involved. They can also talk to the adults in their building, their school, and let them know that, hey, I noticed that, in this classroom, kids are getting bullied here, or this child or these groups of people make these other people feel uncomfortable or being bullied. So at least as a school staff, they can have a conversation and be strategic in maybe the placement of adults, making sure that they're monitoring during those transition times, cafeteria times, dismissal times, etc., when those fights and things like that usually happen. also encouraging our students to be part of clubs. So if you see bullying, you can make that choice to start the anti-bullying club, right?
Mhm.
And you can ask an adult in your building to serve as an advisor, okay? Also, you can, like this says here, you can write a blog, you can write the letter to the editor, you can tweet about bullying, you can write in your school newsletter about bullying, you can have a group of kids where you can come up with a name, a fancy name, but defenders against bullying, that kind of a thing, or anti-bullying defenders, or that kind of a thing. So just making sure that our kids are involved. I also think that when we encourage our kids to be a part of various communities, whether it's a sport club, the swimming club, the Girl Scout, the Boy Scout, church activities, they tend to feel much more comfortable interacting with other children and other adults. Unfortunately, in our immigrant communities, we're so busy. Mom and dad go to work, so the only time the child goes out is if they're going to school, or maybe they're going to church or the mosque together. That's it. We need to make that time to say, well, let our children join these activities. Friday, Girl Scout, Boy Scout, whether it's a swimming club, a dance club, those clubs tend to empower our children, and they give them a voice where they see those signs, and they don't need an adult to identify it. They can see what bullying is, and they can identify it immediately and stop it there immediately, because those children are empowered children. Sometimes as immigrants, I don't want my child to mix with these kids. No, you're not helping your child. You're building their sense of perseverance. No, let them be involved with immigrant and non-immigrant children. They build those perseverance skills. It helps them when they get to the workplace and someone wants to make a comment about their curry food or the fish that they're warming up in the microwave, right? And they can stand up and say, this is my food and I'm going to warm it up and I can probably eat it right here. So it's really important for us as parents to get them for our children to be involved.
Dr. Edward, I love what you said. And you really touched on the heart of why I created this nonprofit Leadership Excellence for Women by Women. Because as an adult, I've had many people from the diaspora asking me, how was I able to get to know American culture this well, and to be able to get into some circles? It made me smile, because some people even thought like, maybe I had people, kind of like pushing me in. I'm like, no. I moved here 22 years ago with no family member, $300 in my pocket, and starting all over. There was a point where I had to move out of my community within a year, because when I came in, of course, we tend to want to mingle with our people. And I was like, okay, let me find my community and let them know that I'm here. So I want to get involved. In my mind, involved was meaning like, putting together projects for our countries, leadership projects, things like that, to help those here with leadership skill, and also supporting our community back home. To my surprise, the first time that I was contacted was, we are having a baby shower. I'm like, okay. I'm sorry, but I'm not interested. And second, I don't even have the money to participate to baby shower, because I'm a student and I barely have food to eat myself sometimes. So I felt like, okay, this is not what I want for myself. Because if you choose to immigrate to a country, especially in the United States, where you can become anything that you want, you need to make sure that the way you start will determine how you're going to become later on. So I choose purposely to remove myself out of my community, to move to Virginia, where there were no African, and I was only in American culture. I had no choice than to learn to speak perfectly English, to learn the culture, to completely be immersed in the American culture, which today is helping me to open some doors. So when I had so many immigrants asking me those questions, I felt like, okay, what can I do to help? And I started having my talk show in my living room 3 years ago, all by myself, talking about networking skills, talking about how to prepare yourself professionally, talking about workplace culture, especially as immigrants. I think you just mentioned that, Dr. Edward. Very, very crucial. And Huguette also, it's very crucial because we are different. And if we don't know how to stand up for ourselves, how would we be able to empower our own children? It's not going to happen. But it has to be intentional. We have to work on ourselves as parents first before we can help our own children.
Yeah.
So again, thank you so much for mentioning that. And we just have to keep the conversation going. It cannot be just a one-time hit and go. Our community needs to hear more about it. We need to be able to bring different leaders. That's why I love to bring different leaders, especially women from the diaspora, because we know that most of the time it's harder for women to be in leadership as immigrants. Because of our culture, we tend to just lay back, and then so for those that are married, just kind of like hide behind our husbands. But this is a country where you can be the best that you want. The decision has to be from you. Your husband cannot do it for you. Your community cannot do it for you. You have to make the choice first. Then go find the resources. And that's where I'm using my platform to bring resources to our communities. And hoping that they will take time to watch. Because again, many are so distracted with entertainment. Where those kind of talk show is really to help us on a good start for ourselves and our children.